So good morning, everyone. I welcome you again for those that arrived yesterday and for those that are arriving today as well. And resume today in the June 28th with the second and last day of the scientific program of the conference. And we proceed to date with the first keynote speakers communications. So I would like to thank to Professor Peter Benz for being here, and as well for Joanile Macier, and to Professor João Pedro Costa that will be doing the moderation during this morning. Thank you all for being today. And with no more delays, I will ask to Professor João Pedro Costa to be in the stage. Thank you.
Good morning to everybody, and we'll start immediately. This is kind of the session of design experimentation, and so we have two contributions that will, I think it's showing, well, like this. Okay. My neck is nice. And I was saying it's the plenary session of experimentation design, and we'll have two different contributions that will help us to go further on this approach. And we will organize it with the two presentations, one immediately after the other, and keep the final period for discussion with both of the keynote speakers. Peter Benz is an architect, and he has this, as you used to say, the good son always returns home. And so he was a student and did his basic formation at the Bauhaus-Universität in Weimar. Then he kind of traveled around the world and ended up, as a good son, returning to Weimar to be the actual president of the school. But he's also an experimental designer focused on researching and developing experience as a creative medium. He brings us a presentation which is very inspiring. Houston, we have a problem, and we kind of are very intrigued. Peter, what's the problem that we have in Houston? So please take the floor.
And you will be very impressed to see my belly for the whole presentation.
So, don't worry about this.
Okay.
Just, you have this and...
Well, lucky for you, I do have a presentation. And it's just as yellow as my shirt, so you don't miss much. So anyway, good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here so early. I do understand that for artists, designers, 9 o'clock is not really a daytime. It is a great honor, and it is even a bigger pleasure to be here at EIMAD, which is happening for the 9th time, but it is my first time, and to be able or to have been invited to give a presentation. I have half an hour. I will try to stick to that time, but as we are starting a little bit late, it will be a little bit overrun in the end, according to the original schedule. I would also like to thank all of those people who have contributed to making EIMAD possible, for all the lovely people from Instituto Politecnico Castelo Branco for organizing this event. I have done this before. I know how much work it is. I know how much effort it is, and I know how nerve-wracking it is. I understand today there's a train strike, and there's some speakers sitting in Lisbon and can't get here, and now they're trying to. So I appreciate all the efforts. I appreciate the amount of work that went into this. So thank you very much. Now, I also, of course, have the grand advantage that I'm speaking on the second day, which means I already heard some of the lectures of yesterday, And it gives me the opportunity to respond or to work with those a little bit. And I, in particular, will be referring quite a number of time to Jorge Frascara's presentation of yesterday. I even quote you. But then I contradict you. So this is obviously an advantage, and I am grateful for having received this opportunity. Now, very grandly, my presentation is called a keynote, which is very kind of those people who put it into the program like that. I would like to use this keynote a little bit more on an issue like a kind of personal reflection. It was mentioned already just a moment ago. I am currently the president of Bauhaus-Universität. Before that, I was a professor at the Academy of Visual Arts in Hong Kong for the last 17 years. I've only been back in Weimar for about a year and 3 months to be precise. And I suddenly find myself in the position to be a president of a university, and no less the Bauhaus-Universität. That is an odd situation. It was never planned. It was never something that I aspired to. It kind of just happened. Now, as I also already mentioned yesterday in my opening words for this whole conference, I am the first designer in Germany to be the president of a comprehensive university, because of course Bauhaus is not a design school. It is a comprehensive university that has subjects ranging from in the natural sciences, engineering, all the way to the arts. I am also the first German president of a comprehensive university without a PhD, which is, again, notable, at least. So, in a way, after about a year in office, I would like to take this opportunity today to kind of think about what am I doing, and why am I, as a designer, in this position, and does it make sense? And spoiler alert, I do think it makes sense. Now, as I was just introduced, I don't consider myself to be an experimental designer, even though I do some experiments sometimes. I consider myself to be an experiential designer, and there's some few letters difference at least. Now, in the English language, experience is one word, which I always find a little bit in this. I love the English language. I love speaking English. But in this particular case, experience is, I prefer the German expressions, in particular because in German language there are two expressions that both are translated as experience. And Martin Heidegger in the 1920s, as part of his phenomenological investigations, has gone into that a bit more in detail, but so I'll keep it very short. But he separates the English term experience into two German terms. One of them is called Erlebnis, and the other one is called Erfahrung. Now, some of you might be, do any of you speak German in the audience? A little bit? There is a little bit. Erlebnis. Can you reflect a moment what Erlebnis may mean, or what it...
One comes from living, the other comes from knowing.
Kind of, exactly. One comes from living. Erlebnis, Leben means life, is to live something. And Erfahrung is... it's to make, or it is a more passive term in terms of that it is something that happens to you in a way. So one of them is more active, one of them is more passive. In the English word experience, these two meanings are present. We just don't really see them as clearly. So for example, if I experience something, I go on a trip and I experience that trip, I actively engage, I live this experience, and I have an experience. If I talk of myself I am an experienced teacher, then it kind of implies that I've been teaching for many, many years, I've been teaching in many, many different situations, and I've kind of accumulated a body of experiences that I may not be able to distinguish into all of its individual experiences. I won't be able to recall every single of my classes, but I have this body of knowledge somehow that is somehow incorporated in myself, and it makes me. And that is, I am an experienced teacher, for example. So that's Erfahrung, and Erlebnis is the active part. So I consider myself to be an experiential designer, an experienced designer. So in a way, you're trying to incorporate these two activities or these two meanings into what I do. Now, to give you an example, what that may mean in concrete, and this is where Houston comes into play, but it's not Houston Space Station, it's only Houston Airport. Now, at Houston Airport, some years ago, they had a problem. They were doing customer surveys with their passengers that arrived in Houston, and the passengers, to walk from the plane to the baggage reclaim, it took them 7 minutes. However, to empty the bags from the planes and to bring them to the baggage claim, it took 18 minutes. So the people, the passengers had to wait for 11 minutes. That was very much industry standard in the US. It was also 11 minutes. It's not really that long. However, they had massive complaints that it was too long. People were angry about having to wait for so long. So Houston Airport, as they are very compliant, they try to improve this situation. So with technical means, they try to speed up the baggage delivery, and they managed to cut the time for the baggage delivery to the baggage reclaim by 3 minutes, and in the end, the passengers had only needed to wait for 8 minutes. What do you think happened? Nothing. The complaints stayed just the same. So but by then they had kind of pulled all the strings, they had pulled all the possibilities, there was no further technical solution for speeding up the time. So most other airport authorities, they probably would have simply given up. They would have said, well, can't do anything, it's better than the average anyway, so let's just leave it at that, and yeah, we have done our best. But Houston, they were prepared to go a bit further. So they tried to develop, and I'm actually not sure whether they did hire a designer, but they might have hired a designer. And they tried something different. Could you guess what? They extended the walkway to get to the to get to the baggage claim. So now people had to walk 12 minutes and arrive, and then they only had to wait for 3 minutes. It might also have helped that they extended the walkway to the complaint desk by 6 minutes. So if you now arrived at the baggage claim and wanted to complain because you were still unhappy, you'd had to walk another 6 minutes to get to that, and you didn't do that. So suddenly the complaints were completely gone. And they had very happy customers. Now, why is that important? Or why is that of interest, I think, to designers? Because in the end, what Houston Airport Authority did is they actually tried to look at the problem from the point of the passenger. And the passengers, they didn't have a problem of spending 11 minutes. The problem was not that they were in a very big rush and they just wanted to get out and the 11 minutes were just 11 minutes too long. What they didn't like was waiting. The problem was the experience of waiting, standing at the baggage claim, having nothing to do, and waiting for something to happen, for your bags to arrive. There was nothing to look, where there was nothing to do. That was the problem. The problem was not the 11 minutes. So by extending the walkway, people had something to do. Frankly, it was something very basic to do, just walking, but they had something to do, and it was less boring than waiting. So they didn't complain anymore. It was quite simple, actually. Even better, it cost nothing. You kind of improved your service by literally doing nothing. You just changed the signage in the building, and you achieved your objective. To me, I think that is a fascinating idea. This is a fascinating approach because it's cheap, it's easy, and it actually improves the experience of the people, and the people are happier. And what more would you want? Now you and this is sort of what I like about experiential design. Experiential design focuses entirely on the human. It focuses on the people that you're trying to address. And it does so, and please pay attention to the last sentence that is highlighted in black, through three processes. Through cognition, which is essentially what you do with your head, through your sensory perception, which is essentially what you do through your senses, and I like to say that's what you do through your hand, and then your emotions also, so your what you feel in your heart. So if we as designers try to consider not only the head, as we do very often, and sometimes the hands, the senses, as we again do fairly often, but also try to include the baggage that people bring